So in this tutorial, we're going to be looking at how to do a big panorama across both pages of your sketchbook. Now this is, you think, well, it's relatively easy. Surely you just start at one side and make your way across, but you can get into a little bit of trouble if you can do that. So I'm going to show you a couple of really simple tips of how you can plan it and then how you sort of sketch it out. And we're going to talk a little bit about perspective, a little bit about placement of sort of components. And you'll also get to see the whole process from start to finish. But bear in mind that this is like 2 hours of solid drawing, so there's going to be a bit of abbreviation, and there's going to be a little bit of maybe speeded up areas. So please like, please subscribe, all that jazz. Should we get cracking? Come on then. So the first thing I want to talk about really here is, how do you start? Well, how I tend to do it is I tend to find a component that's roughly in the middle. Now in this drawing, now looking at the reference drawing, we've got this red car in the middle here. So I'm going to put that bang center in the middle of the sketchbook, and I'm going to sketch that in. And then what I want to do is look at what's on the far left of the sketchbook and then add that component in. And the same on the far right, and add that component in. And if you work that way, what it means is that you're not going to end up running out of space. You're always going to be mindful of what that part of the drawing is there, and then you can sort of fill in the bits in the middle. So to actually show you how that looks here, what I'm doing is I'm starting with that car in the middle, and I'm drawing that in across the fold, right across the fold of the page there. Now as soon as I've finished that one, I'm going to really quickly sketch in the rest of the cars, and they are really going to be the key to a lot of the placement of the parts that are in the foreground of this drawing. So all those cars are really the most challenging thing about this drawing, really. If you're not used to drawing cars, I mean, it's not my specialism by any means, but I can do it. But they are quite challenging, and you could go simple with them. You could make them little blobs, you could do very, very detailed drawings of cars with all the reflections and things. But what I'm using is a bit of a middle ground, where I'm looking at the parts of the car, the various shapes of the window apertures and the lights, and kind of roughly summarizing them sort of visually. So the cars really are going to be one of the main bits that you use to sort of frame this image. Is once you draw in all the cars and in their rough positions, everything else can really reference off that. So as I finish the left hand side, the cars that are in the foreground, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over to the far right hand side, and I'm going to add in some of those components, again pretty much starting on what's on the far right hand side to make sure I don't burst out the page, and then adding in the cars that are in between. And most of the other components of the drawing, in terms of how wide they are, will reference those cars, because you can say, well, that side of the house is the edge of the blue car, or that bit of the house aligns up with that red car, over there, or whatever. So I hope that makes sense. So then I'm looking at trees, and what do the trees line up with, and you can look at the cars below that again and sort of figure that out as you go. Now if you look at if you go back to the original drawing, there is some barrel distortion in that, and let me just explain what that term means. That's when you do a big panorama drawing and it goes slightly bigger in the middle. Now that's you've got to imagine that you're looking at a barrel on its side. It's slightly wider taller in the middle than it is at the sides, and that's just the way that your device, whether it's a camera on a phone or on a normal camera, that's the way it creates that panorama effectively. It's referred to as barrel distortion. Now often, if you're creating a panorama as a sketch, you could just completely ignore that and just put in a straight line of where those houses are. If you look at the roof of the houses in the reference drawing, instead of having them as slightly barrel shaped, slightly taller in the middle and lower at the edge, you can flatten it off completely. Now sometimes that helps. Actually, it can be a distraction if you have too much barrel distortion, but in this drawing, I've chosen to keep it because I think it adds a sort of quite a nice focus to the image in a way, and it feels quite organic in the reference photo, so I've decided to leave that in. So often you can see in my drawings that I'll just use pen straight away, and that's fine when you're doing fast drawings, and actually, I would say from a sort of psychological point of view, using a pen is actually healthier than using a pencil, because there's no temptation to rub stuff out and preen it. You get what you get, and that's great. But because this is a big commitment in terms of like a couple of hours worth of drawing, I don't want it to be too messy. I want to try and restrain myself a little bit so that if I do put like whole buildings in separate areas or wrong areas, I can correct that. But when it comes to adding in the details with the pencil, I'm not going to put the whole detail in. Now, what I'm going to do is when it comes to drawing a window, I'm going to just draw a rectangle. I might draw a lintel detail. When it comes to sort of drawing cars even, you know, I might not do every single detail. I might not do the wing mirrors on the cars, you know, I might leave that till later. Because I think one of the things about drawing with pencil is if you develop it too much in pencil, it becomes a little bit dated. It can lose a little bit of the lovely spontaneity that comes with just putting mark making down quite quickly. So you can use pencil, but you don't necessarily have to develop the whole drawing. You can use it as a really rough framework in terms of like, this is the proportion of a building and roughly there's a window here. But when you go back in with the pen, you can still leave it quite loose and leave a lot of questions to be answered. In case you think it's amazing that I can do this in, you know, 20 minutes or however long this video is going to be, quarter of an hour, you know, I ain't that good or that fast. I actually did this sketch in, I think it was 3 different sessions. I did the pencil work first, and then I did all the fine line work, and then I did the painting. And as you can see, I have decided to approach this is to go up right up to the top left hand corner of the page and work my way across in stages. Now, you've maybe heard me say this before, but this makes a lot of sense if you're right-handed, because the sort of fleshy bit of your hand, the hand foot, does that make sense? That sits on the paper, you know, the bottom bit of your hand that you rest on the paper while you're drawing, that's going to be dragged across the page. And if you're going from right to left, what you're doing is you're dragging your hand across the page onto wet ink. So this technique of working from left to right, I've pretty much always done since I started sketching with fountain pens that were quite wet, because after making that mistake 2 or 3 times and losing my mind, I developed this way of working so that you've always very much got a clean hand. Now, my wife talks about this a lot because she's left-handed, so she can't use a fountain pen because her hand is always rubbing on the wet ink, and it drives her mad. Well, it doesn't drive her that mad. I mean, she's quite mad anyway, in a good way. But anyway, I digress. So yeah, when I'm looking at the drawing and the lining in process, I'm still referencing that reference drawing, because the pencil work, as I said before, is preparatory work. You know, it's sort of preparing me for this stage. I don't do all the details and all that little fiddly bits in pencil, because I want to leave a little bit of latitude for expression with the fountain pen, or in this case the fine liner. Oh yeah, fine liners. Here I'm using some new fine liners that I'm playing with at the moment. I've done a few videos on these recently. These are Unipin sepia, so these are the brown Unipin fine liners, and in the set there's a 0.5, there's a brush one, and there's a 0.1, and I'm sketching most of this, in all of it in fact, in the 0.5. I think the 0.1 was too small, it would just get a little bit lost. The brush was going to be a bit of a bully, so I wanted to keep it quite consistent with the 0.5. Now I might go back in with the brush at the end. I shan't spoil it for you. But yeah. So why am I playing with these sepia pens? You know, they're like a brown colour. Well, black can be a little bit too poppy. They do a light grey, which just disappears. I mean, it's nice, but it's just like a light pencil line. And the watercolour overpowers it, which is not a bad thing if that's what you want. They do a dark grey, which, you know, is again, I can show you some samples of those actually on the screen now, which again is great. It's not as powerful as the black. And I think the brown is slightly between the grey and the black. So that's what I'm doing, is I'm looking at the overall shape of the car, and then I'm looking at breaking up that overall shape with whatever the side window and the back window is, and then looking at the lights and things like that. So for this small bush in the foreground here, obviously it's close enough that we can see some individual details, and we can see some individual leaves and things on it, whereas the trees further back, they're just going to be more kind of fluffy shapes. So here in this drawing, as I'm putting in these lampposts, you can see the barrel perspective and how that's working in this drawing. So the next stage of this drawing really is defining some of the outer lines. The whole drawing is pretty much lined in, but what I want to do is I want to use some thicker lines on the outside of those shapes, and I think those thicker lines will really help to distinguish between what is the part of the silhouette, if you know what I mean, and what is detail inside of that. So it just makes those houses at the back just pop a little bit. So that's pretty much the first layer of fine liner done there. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to start the painting process. And we're about an hour and a bit into this now, like an hour and a half, say, maybe even an hour and 3/4. No, it's 2 actually. Yeah, so we're 2 hours into this now. So as I was talking about with the fine liner, when it comes to the painting elements of this, I'm going to do the same. I'm going to start from left to right so that I don't, move the paint around and make some big smudges. One of the things that I'm going to be doing here with this initial layer, and it's something I often try and do with most of my watercolors, is I'll put down an initial flat area first, and then I'll add in a few sort of varying tones. So I'm kind of squinting at the reference drawing here, and I'm thinking, what colors am I seeing here? I'm seeing some paler creams, I'm seeing some darker blues, greens, and browns. So whenever I do a flat coat, whenever I do a kind of underglaze, a little bit of an undercoat in a way, I always try and add a bit of colour variation to it. Not a huge amount, just a little bit, because it means that when you layer over the top, when you glaze over the top of that, what you're going to see coming through is a bit of that variation, which makes it look a lot more natural, a lot more interesting. I think that's one of the primary things, is it just looks a lot more interesting, and it also looks a lot more organic. So there you can see I've added in some natural sienna of some of the corners, and that really does help break up that big monoblock of shape. And as we get further on there, I'm adding in a little bit of blue. And then as we get further down to the house on the right hand side, that's going to be a slightly different colour altogether. Now in the reference picture you can see it is. And actually that house on the right hand side has a lot of detail in that we're not putting in, like the white cobbling on the corners and things like that, because we're going to keep it a bit more simple. There's enough to deal with without adding in loads of details when it comes to brickwork with this one. So as you can see in the foreground, below the cars, I've put in a layer of paint and also gone back a little bit to fill in a bit of that car park. I know that is quite dark in the original, but I wanted to keep it a little bit light and fresh in this. One of the things I made the decision from the start was to keep the pavement, which is the bit under the cars, white, because I wanted it to sort of match the white on the top, because I wasn't that keen on putting a lot of complicated sky in this one. So I'm starting to add a little bit of shadow detail in here, and primarily that shadow, there isn't a lot of it in the original drawing, There's a little bit, I think, going right to left, or left to right, but there's not a huge amount. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add in a little bit of artificial shadow on some of those gable ends, and also underneath the eaves of the roofs, just so you get the feeling that those roofs are slightly overhanging. They also help to really tell the story a little bit about the shape of those chimneys. So it is artificial, but I don't think it does any harm really. And we've got a few archways and things like that that will really benefit from a little pop of shadow colour. So as far as the roof goes, I've put in a darkish layer. I mean, the roofs are all pretty similar colours here, so quite a dark muted layer, and then I'm going to use a little drop of quinacridone gold and add on a little bit of what is like a lichen colour. And you see this actually quite a lot in buildings in the north of England. It's like a yellow lichen. And I really need to be using a smaller brush than I'm using here. But I don't think it really matters. So there you can see we've pretty much finished with the colour of the buildings and most of the shadows. So the next thing is to start looking at the colour elements. Now, weirdly, you could kind of leave it there. I love these partially coloured drawings. I think they can be really effective, but I think it's one of those ones that once you start adding the colour pops, because there's quite a lot of colour in this, whether it's the shop front or whether it's the cars or whether it's some of the foliage, once you pop you can't stop. Trademark. So yeah, I'm going to start with some of the buildings, and then I'm going to work my way across the main front of the buildings, adding in some details, but not do too much here. Now, one of the next stage is all these windows. They are looking very naked and white at us, and if they're going to be one colour, I often feel that windows benefit from being slightly darker than whatever they're sat in. You don't want them to be black, because that can be far too harsh. But what I'll do is I'll mix up a light medium grey, and I'll add in some of those windows. So what I'm also doing with that grey is I'm actually using it, and this brush particularly, it's quite a thin brush, to add in some shadow detail as I go. So there's a few areas under the bay windows and under the shop signs where I think it's going to be beneficial to add in a little bit more shadow. So looking at the sketch overall, I think the perspectives worked quite well. I think this is a tiny bit burnt out, this image, but you can see that the colour pops and everything are quite nice. I still think that tree on the right hand side needs some of the contrast taken out of it. But cars look nice and glossy. And then the left hand side of the image, if we get a bit closer in them, I think some of the houses at the back work really well. I like the shops there. There's not a huge amount of detail, like that archway is nice. I like the minimum detail there, and I've not bothered to draw in all the shop names and things like that. I don't think it needs that. A bit of the bay windows and everything look good. And then if we head to the middle area there, I like the fact that the cars, you can see they're cars, but they're not overly detailed, and some of the angles are not perfect. I like that. I actually think it looks pretty cool. And then on the right hand side here, again, it's not overburdened with detail. I quite like some of the slightly truncated versions of detail and stuff, but the houses look good. Overall, I think it's cracking. Now in the flesh, it looks really impressive because it is so big. It's like A4 wide, A3 wide, if you know what I mean. It's an A4 landscape part, so it's as wide as 2 bits of A4 paper. It looks great. Now you could certainly do this in the flesh. You don't need a reference drawing. You could go there and you could draw it, but I think often with a more complicated drawing like this, you're probably not going to want to sit there for half a day. You're probably so maybe start it in location and then come back and finish it at home. So this reference drawing will be available for you to download if you're on my Patreon, and you can have a go at this. So I hope you enjoyed that. It's quite a difficult drawing to make into a YouTube video. You know, essentially something quite short because it's obviously 4 hours. So I hope you get a little bit of a sense anyway of what's been occurring here. So if you're interested in longer videos, you know, have a look at my Patreon channel, where for a few bucks a month you can subscribe there and get a lot more access to a lot more detailed tutorials and lessons. You can learn the fundamentals, you can learn advanced techniques, you can learn lots of different media. It's a pretty cool sort of portal for lots of things. So join me over there. So you'll see you next time. And thanks for staying to the end. You deserve a prize. Have my respect.